Hello friends, I would like to revisit today the story of David and Goliath, but in relation to a very powerful tool that the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah is offering us, talking about it, and the tool is charity. Now charity can be in so many ways, of course, being charitable with our money, with different things that we might give away, like clothes, like anything that basically we have. Charity can be, being charitable can be sharing something that the other person needs. It can be maybe advice, although usually advice is the easiest charity to do because it's just so easy to give an advice. So let's check that concept of charity. There is an article in the main Kabbalistic text called the Zohar. It appears in volume 16, portion of Behar. And if you have the Zohar, and if not, it's okay. The article is being called Charity Saves from Death. Charity saves from death. So let's see what's this point of charity besides like the obvious understanding that we have about charity being a giving, caring, loving individual. The story itself in the Zohar talks about these two travelers that are wandering in the desert, in the wilderness. Two of them, maybe they are best friends. A third person approached them, and a poor person appeared to be, yes. This third person is telling them, I'm about to die. What's wrong? Well, for a couple of days, maybe 3 days, I haven't eaten anything, drank a little bit water, and basically if you're not going to help me, give me some bread, some food, give me some water, probably I'm going to perish. Probably I'm going to die very soon. At that point, one of the travelers, one of the friends is saying, for sure I will help you, I will give you my bread, my food, my water. To which the other friend replies, telling the first friend, are you insane? We are in the desert. Here even money won't help. If you're giving your water, your bread to that poor man, nothing will be left for you in a short while. And although I'm your friend, but I'm trying to get some sense into your brain, into your mind, because I'm going to eat my food and drink my water. I have only enough for me. If you're stupid enough to give the poor person, I'm not going to help you and assist you later. The first traveler, the first friend, the good guy, is saying, don't worry. It's not upon your food that I'm relying on. I don't put my trust in you or in your food, but in God Almighty, in the Creator. So that's very interesting. Beginning of the understanding of charity, of being charitable, that practicing it, having a very good chance to, according to the wisdom of Kabbalah, to remove some judgment, some negative judgment from our lives, and even the Zohar dares to say, even remove death. But we have to understand what's going on here. So he gives the bread and the water to the poor man, as we mentioned, and surely enough, the other traveler, his friend, with air quotes, left him. So he got so exhausted, so fatigued, and he's basically just dropping on one of those dunes in the desert, and he's fainting, he's about to die. A creature that looks like a serpent, like a snake, once he fainted, yes, that creature approaches him, just about to bite him. Another snake, a bigger snake, a bigger serpent came, beat up the first snake, and went to his way. Basically, the life of that individual, he got saved, okay? All that story, there are two other individuals, maybe with binoculars, they watching, they observing the whole story, and they start having this spiritual discussion that has to do with the meaning of life and lofty, elevated kind of philosophical discussions. And of course, they reach the conclusion that somehow a miracle happened, some great shift in the destiny of that individual that did happen, happened because of his charitable action. But let's see the little details here. To perform this charitable action, giving his bread, his water to the needy, to the poor individual, it wasn't something that easy. He wasn't giving something that he had plenty of in his inventory, in his storage, sort of speaking. He gave his last piece of bread. He gave the last, whatever water that he had there, he gave it away. So that's teaching us something very powerful about giving and sharing and sharing in general, but specifically charity. The magic of charity, and we can be charitable in so many ways, and of course it will reveal so much positive energy in our lives, and it will be greatly beneficial for us for so many reasons. But the type of charity that's really creating a shift in our destiny, that might even remove the judgment of mortality, of death. It's a type of sharing, and at that point we need to take it, each one of us, to our own life, to modify it to our own life. We don't become like that person in the story in one day. Actually, I'm reading that story for so many years, and I know that probably I won't give necessarily my last water and bread to somebody in the desert. It takes overpowering a certain distrust, a certain fear, a certain blockage. It's a leap of faith. So what we see that individual did, and that's something that we can all practice in our lives, again, with the right modifications. Real charity that will have the deepest positive impact in our lives. It's the charity, the good deed, if you like, that is pushing me to be a little bit more brave than the usual. That is demanding me to overpower a certain fear. Doesn't have to be the whole fear. It can be 5% of that fear, 10%. The more the better. Overpowering a blockage, overpowering a fear, overpowering a certain area in my life that I'm not trusting the process, God, the Creator, whatever your understanding of God and the Creator is. So why did I say at the very beginning that I want to revisit the story of King David? What was it about it? About the story of King David and Goliath. We won't repeat the whole story of what really happened there. It's a valley in Israel called Emek Haelah. We won't get again into the details. But this Goliath person, a giant, who knows 10 feet, who knows how tall he was, that, let's say metaphorically, is a master of all martial arts. He knows how to use the sword, the spear. Amazing. And he's challenging the other group, in that case, the Israelites. Eventually, David steps out to the occasion and he says, I will fight. But let's examine the little detail there. David is basically a very young individual at that time, maybe even a teenager. Although when we see Michelangelo, famous David, he looks like a developed, grown-up person. But he definitely not necessarily a warrior, somebody that has any unique experience on the battlefield. And also he's not that much of a big person. In fact, when Shaul, King Saul, says, okay, David, you're so brave, go ahead and fight this dude, this giant Goliath. Saul was actually a tall, big individual. And he says to David, take my armor and take my sword. But David couldn't even move. The armor, the sword was too heavy. And of course, at that point, David just take it off. I don't need this heavy armor, that heavy sword. I will just go with my slingshot. And as the story develops there in the biblical book, Samuel A. But when we look at what King David actually did, which is charity for so many reasons. Basically, he wants to save the people, his nation. And he said that nobody volunteers to get into this basically suicide mission to fight Goliath. David had all the right reasons, and not only David, everybody around him, all the soldiers, standing there on the mountain and watching the whole story, the Israelites camping there. There is nobody that wanted to volunteer, because one thing was promised. If you fight Goliath, your destiny is one, to die. So not only that it's the opinion of everybody, and David is getting this vibration, yes, he knows. And also he knows about himself. And he's stepping, again, it's such a leap of faith. It's a quantum jump forward. And he's doing this charity, saving the people by, we can say, risking himself, but it's not exactly the point I'm trying to say, because we are not going now every day to engage in situations that we are going necessarily to risk ourselves. But in our mind, maybe yes. It's those things that we are reluctant to give, those charitable action, because there is a blockage. The blockage might be fear, distrust, anything from that, being concerned about something. And as the Zohar is in a such deep way telling us in one phrase, the Zohar is saying, the Zohar, the main Kabbalistic text, is saying, one, he or she, should not ask what I'm going to do tomorrow if I'm going to give right now. If I'm giving something that in my understanding of the process, in my consciousness, I think this is so important for me to keep. If I let it go, if I share it, if I give it, nothing will be left for me. So these are part of the things that surely went through the mind of King David. I'm going on a battlefield against this Goliath, and there's not so much chances I'm going to win if I'm just following the regular pattern of thinking, of processing things. Not only me, everybody around me thinking the same. And we know when you're talking about massive amount of people, whatever other people think might have also a very powerful impact about our thinking process. Nevertheless, of course, King David did what he did, and he becomes victorious. And it's similar to that story that we have in this portion of Behar. Charity saves from that. It's true, but so many people are doing different types of charities, and it doesn't necessarily remove from their process illness, sickness, anything that we don't wish, of course, to go through. So the secret that we see here from the story of King David, from what the ancient Kabbalists are telling us, charity, being a good person, we are all good people. The extra value of a real charity, it will allow us, it is allowing us to go through this leap of faith with my actions of sharing and giving. That's why that individual merits big miracles. It tapped into a realm that is being called Binah. Binah, it's a reservoir of energy, cosmic energy, very high vibration of energy, as I mentioned. And that's what King David did. One little detail that I would like to share. When King David took the slingshot, he put 5 stones from the river, a stream of water. He took the 5 stones, and the 5 stones, in a magical way, 5 got together and united into one stone. 5 stones united into one stone. That was the famous story of David with the slingshot and his pinpointing Goliath's forehead, and the rest is a famous story. Of course, is victorious, and triumph belongs to King David. What is this river? The Kabbalists call it, as I mentioned, Binah. Very powerful energy, which allow the 5 stones to become as one, representing the power of unity. So David, like that individual from the story, by the charitable action, they were able to tap into a parallel universe, alternative reality, where the vibration of energy is so powerful. Once it's reaching our physical life, it might cause some shifts in our destiny. So if you like it, and if you have friends that are interested in such information, please share, pay it forward. And I need to get back on my YouTube channel with my King David stories. It's not mine, it's in the Bible. I just like to share it. So thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye bye.